Colonel Duncan Keitani, whom we trained as a cadet officer and also as a pilot in the Kenya Air Force at the same time. May their souls rest in peace. During the unfortunate incident of 15th of August of 2022, after that I had a cup of tea with General Ogolla on the same issue, and I asked him what happened, and General Ogolla just told me, Baro, because that's the name they called me, Baro, you know me, as from a young age when we, as young officers in the Kenya Air Force. And you know very well, I cannot do anything that will jeopardize the peace and the security of our country. Rest in peace, General Ogolla. Thank you very much. And the rest of the officers who perished with the same aircraft.
Minority Leader.
Let me join my colleagues in extending my condolences and those of the entire Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, PG, to the immediate family, friends and relatives of the late General Francis Omondi Ogolla. Honorable Speaker, it was unfortunate that I was unable to attend the funeral of the fallen general due to unavoidable circumstances. All the same, General Ogolla was someone known to me personally. And for the time I interacted with him, he came out clearly as a person who was down to earth. That's really one thing I can say about General Ogolla. He was down to earth. It is a virtue perhaps we may want to emulate. It's a virtue we may really wish to inculcate as leaders, especially members of parliament. That positions, power, influence, prestige, doesn't really matter. What matters is how you relate with the fellow human beings, and more importantly, how you relate with your Creator, the Almighty God. Let me also say this, that as we mourn General Ogolla, we must also not forget to mourn his 9 colleagues, fallen colleagues. As a matter of fact, Honorable Speaker, one of the fallen colleagues of General Ogolla, that is Major General Benson Magondu, was married to my own constituent, Captain Brenda Okello. And for me, therefore, as a constituency of Ugunja, we have a terrible loss. We have incurred terrible loss, and we only pray to Almighty God to rest their souls in eternal peace. But we must also insist in unearthing the root cause of that accident. We owe it to these fallen soldiers. We owe it not only to the fallen soldiers, but also their families and Kenyans generally, that we do whatever it takes to establish what caused their deaths. Honorable Speaker, I am told it is not a normal occurrence for generals to just die like that. My friend Bashir here can tell you. Generals don't just die like that. And therefore, this country needs to be told what or who killed General Ogolla and his colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance to also condole with the family of CDF General Ogolla Francis, who passed on in a helicopter crash. Honorable Speaker, I happened to attend the funeral of General Ogolla. And from the eulogy we had, this was a very simple person, very religious person who lived a very humble life and even helped the society without necessarily wanting to be known that is the one who is doing the things that he was doing. And therefore, it's worth emulating his life, both his relations with God and the people and the humility which he was shown. And he resisted carrying the flamboyance of the Luo nation in everything he did. And that's something I admired. Honorable Speaker, together with the 9 other veteran army officers who passed on, I pass my condolences to the family. And also proceed to indicate that death of such a senior person in this country through a crash, though we know accidents are force majeure, but it sends a very bad signal to the top leadership, because if that can happen to a general at that particular level, then how safe are we with other senior officers in this country who travel using the same and similar choppers. I want to indicate that as we speed up the investigations, let's also go down to the investigations of the matters that happened in Bomas. Because I saw the community was so keen about knowing what was the truth about that. So that inquiry should be double-loaded so that we also know whether General Ogolla was misused or exactly what happened. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Bed Simba.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi nipenyeze sauti yangu kusema pole kwa ndugu, jamaa na marafiki na familia za wanajeshi wale walipoteza maisha yao siku ya Alhamisi. Sisi kama eneo bunge la Kisauni tumepoteza Brigedia Swale Said. Ni kijana mshupavu, alikuwa tuna mategemeo yake makubwa kwamba huko mbeleni angechukua nafasi kubwa katika familia ya jeshi, lakini kila kitu ni mpango ya Mungu. Kikubwa tunasema tunaombea Mungu, Mwenyezi Mungu ailaze roho zao mahali pema peponi na awasamehe madhambi yao. Lakini ni vyema sana pia sisi kama taifa tufanye uchunguzi wa kina kujua sababu ya kuanguka kwa ndege hiyo, kwa sababu ikiwa ndege ambayo imebeba mkuu wa majeshi inaanguka kiholela, basi ni hatari kubwa sana kwa hizi ndege zetu ambazo zimebaki, kwa sababu na imani kwamba ndege ambayo anatembea mkuu wa majeshi na wale ambao fuatana nao ni ndege ambayo itakuwa imechunguzwa hali ya halisi inaweza kupita namna gani, hata kama hali ya anga itabadilika itapita vipi. Lakini kama inakwenda naanguka, sasa inamaanisha kwamba ndege zetu zote ziko katika hatari na ziko na wasiwasi, na nchi nyingi zimetushangaa kwamba sisi tunapoteza jenerali kwa ajali ya ndege ambayo haikuwa hata na ya kumsaidia reinforcement karibu, yani kumfuata in case of anything au atasaidiwa, hakuna. Ndege hiyo yake kianguka ndio hiyo. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema pole kwa ndugu na familia, na tunawaombea Mungu, Mungu awalaze mahala pema, awasamehe madhambi yao. Asante sana.
Owen Baya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to join other Kenyans to mourn the fallen heroes, Ogolla and his colleagues. I met General Ogolla when he was commander of the Air Force, when we were in an ad hoc committee looking at the land that belongs to the armed forces. And when we were at the garrison, Moi Air Base, General Ogolla came in. Actually, he was the first person to come into that hall. And we had tea with him, and he was an easy, nice fella, a good person. And he gave us very good information. The second time I had an opportunity to be with General Ogolla is when I traveled with the president outside. And he came across as a man who was down to earth, a person who loved this country, a person who was ready to serve. This country has lost a valiant soldier, a man who was patriotic, and a man who loved this country very much. But again, Honorable Speaker, the people of Kilifi also mourned the death of Brigadier General Swale Said Nzaro. Although he came from Kisauni, but he also lived in Kilifi, and he's actually buried in Kikambala in Kilifi. So the people of Kilifi want to recognize this great soldier, a man that brought in honor to the people of Kilifi, a man that we revered as a soldier that had a future. But God saw it fit that he takes them on that day. May their souls rest in peace. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a Muslim, we say death is a must. In fact, in the Quran, it says, كل نفس ذائقة الموت, every soul shall test death, and therefore we believe in predestination. Mr. Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, when I was the chairman of Defense and Foreign Relations, I had an opportunity to, at a very difficult time of the Grand Coalition, to work with General Ogolla, in fact, in midlife in the current Kenyan Defense Act. Mr. Speaker, since death is a must, there are three things that we must learn from this. That our defense forces are the grantors of our sovereignty and territorial integrity. And Mr. Speaker, every country prides itself by having a modern and effective armed forces. Mr. Speaker, because of these many accidents, in particular involving the choppers of the Kenyan Defence Forces, I want to urge this House, and I'm glad that the chairman of the Defence Forces is here, that let's give adequate funding to our defence, for adequate funding so that they can buy new choppers, not these refurbished, third-rate, donated choppers from elsewhere. And I want Chairman Koech is here. Next time, ask for more funding so that we can complete total modernization of armed forces. And I think that's what we require. And that's the only thing that we can use to remember the fallen heroes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I pay tribute, and I appreciate the many empathies to the fallen heroes, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, my final comment is this. I know since death is a must, and we have eulogized, we have remembered. Let's also remember that all of us here as individuals are fallible. And therefore, everything that we do, we must remember God.
Yes. Thank you. Mary Maingi Mwea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to send my condolences to the families of the fallen soldiers. General Ogolla was a fine man. I had a chance to play golf with him a week before he got his appointment as the CDF. The country will miss a very dedicated general. Mr. Speaker, I wish to associate myself with the sentiments already echoed by various leaders across the nation over the need to upgrade all our air assets.